going to write a program today that implements a lot of the things that we've been talking about so far. So what we're going to do is have an array that has the names of some food items and a second array that has the prices of those individual items. This could be considered parallel arrays because there are two arrays, and the only thing that is going to connect the two of them together are the values that are at each index. So I have already began a program here with a header information. I've already included a couple of necessary libraries that we'll need. And in main, I've actually declared a couple of a couple of arrays. Both of them will have the exact same size, and so I created a constant on line 16 indicating the size of 5. I'm going to have a string array that has 5 tasty food that you might want to eat, and then I have a double array on line 18 that is going to have the price of each one of those 5 items. Now you may or may not notice that my prices are all floating points, except the second one is going to be an integer value, and the fourth one actually has way too many floating point decimal places, but we're going to see what we can do about it. And then my pseudocode, we're going to declare a couple of variables. We need a item to search for, and we need a position when it's found. We're going to display the list, and then on line 27 we're going to prompt them for the item, and then we're going to search for the item, and then finally we're going to return the item and its associated or related price using what are called parallel or multiple arrays. So once you have set up a couple of arrays with some yummy food and some prices for those yummy foods, we're going to come in here and we are going to create some of the variables that we're probably going to need. So we're going to create a string variable called name and another one called item. An item is going to be the one that we are searching for, and then we need an int position. We're going to initialize our integer position to something like a -1, and you'll see why we're going to be doing that when we start searching for the item. Then we're going to display the list of yummy foods, and then we will prompt them for the item. So in order to display the list, we're going to need a for loop. So we'll just do a standard for loop. And as my loop control variable, I'm going to use that constant that we created called size. And all I need to do is output, we called it name array count. That's all that we are going to need. And we're going to use the bracket indicators. And then we will force a new line after each one of those. And run it, see if we've got it working so far. All right, this is good. So it's showing me all 5 of my yummy items. So the next thing that we'll do is we'll prompt for an item. I am actually going to force a new line inside of here, and then I'll say enter an item to search for, and then I'll read that into the variable called item. So let me run it. So if I'm searching for Cheetos, I know nothing will happen, but I'm searching for Cheetos, I should probably mirror back the value that we are capturing. So I will just cout item. We'll cout the item. So we can just mirror back what it is we're getting. That's going to be an important thing here. So if I say Cheetos, it's going to mirror back Cheetos. But what happens if I say gummy worms? Because I'm pretty sure that gummy worms was one of my items. Well, I'm not getting the whole thing. So what should I do instead of a CN? CN probably not going to be the greatest way to bring that in. So what should I probably do instead? Yeah, we should probably do a get line, right? Remember, the get line has 2 parameters. The first one is the input stream, and the second one is the variable that you want to store that data in. Now when I do a cout of what we have, we should get both gummy worms, protein chips. I have a couple of things in there with a couple of words. Now we should be able to read in gummy worms. There we go, mirroring back what we got. Excellent, excellent. So the next thing that we wanted to do, now that we prompted, is we want to search for an item. So it seems like this would just be a traditional for loop again. As long as count is less than that constant that we created, count plus plus. I am going to have curly braces here for this. Oh, we took our closing parenthesis. There we go. I am going to put my braces here. I'll call this N4 because there's a couple of things that I want to do inside of here. What I want to do is we're going to say if the item that we are searching for, I'm going to actually, first of all, I'm going to capture the item and I'm going to put it in the variable called name, and then I'm going to say if item is equal to name, then we want to capture the position so that we can use that position in order to determine what the price for that item is. So I'm just going to have the curly braces in order to be able to do both of those things. So we'll come back here and we'll capture the item. I'm pretty sure I created a variable on line 21 called name. And I'm going to say that name is equal to name array. And then we will use our braces for our counter variable. So I'm going to capture our counter variable. And then it says if the item is equal to the name, so if the two of them are same, I'm going to use an if statement inside of here. So if name is equal to item, couple of things that I want to do inside of here. So I'll have my curly braces inside of here. I'll label this one as end if. So if they are the same, a couple of things that I wanted to do was to capture the position. So position is going to equal count, because my counter variable should have a 0 or a 1 or a 2 or so on and so forth. And then we're actually going to break out of the looping structure, the for loop, because I want to stop as soon as I have found it, right? All right, so I have an end if and an end for. I'm going to run it and see what we can get so far. Right now we're not printing anything out, but we're just going to run it, see if I've spelled something wrong. Here we go. Something to search for if I say Cheetos. There we go. All right, so it is mirroring back Cheetos to me, and I'm not sure if my search is working, so we should probably print something out. So I am going to see out the item, and then I have position. I know the position that it is. And so I'm going to use the name array with the position, and this should return to me the name of the item that we found. So I'm going to say name array, and then I want to do the price. So inside of my text field, I'm going to do a tab, and then we'll say a price. And I'm going to use, instead of the name array, now I should have the array called price array. And so that is the parallel price array. So I'm going to say price. Did I spell that right? Upper or lowercase? Let me come back. Oh, lowercase. All right, so lowercase price array. We're going to use the same position. And then, did I spell price array correctly? Oh, no, my goodness. Price array, we spelled it all the way out. And then we'll do an inline once we're done with that. All right, very good. So if I have found it, we are capturing the position. And I'm going to use that position to capture the value in both the name array and the parallel price array. So let's run it. So I'm going to scroll this down just a little bit, and we're going to look for peanuts. And if it finds peanuts, peanuts are 99 cents, and so it should return to me a price of 99 cents. If I run it again, let's try another one. So if I move things around, I can see that the protein chips should be, so we'll do protein chips should be 2 with 6 nines. And it's telling me that there are $3. And so it looks like it rounded. I'm going to remove one of the 9s and run it again. We'll search for the protein chips again and we'll see what it gives me. And now it's giving me the 5 9s. So it rounded when I had 6 9s. It's giving me 5 9s, but what I would really like to be able to do is just to force 2 decimal places. So I'm going to come down here, and in front of my price, we are going to set precision. And I'm going to set my precision to 2 places. So I can force 2 places. And I'm also going to set fixed and show point. And let's see what the fixed and the show point will do. This time when I run it, we're going to pick something like the gummy worms, which were only $1. So let me drag this down. Let's pick the gummy worms, which are only $1. And now it is showing me the integer 1 with floating point values in it. All right, there's a couple of more things that we want to add to this one. First of all, we have our for loop that says count less than size. Is there a different way that we can determine, let's say for instance that I didn't know what the size was, or is there a different way that we can determine what the size is? So I'm going to copy this for loop right here. I'm going to copy the whole for loop and I'm going to leave that one there. I'll even comment it out. So now I have a duplicate for loop. I'll comment out the first one, and we're going to see that there is another way that I can use to determine the number of elements or the size of an array. So we're going to do that with the size of function that we learned about. So I'm going to say size of, and what's going to go inside of here is the name array, the name of the array. But if you remember, that doesn't tell me how many elements in it. When we were talking about strings and C strings, that doesn't tell me how many elements in it. So if I want to know the number of elements, I have to know how big is each one of the elements. So I'm going to divide this whole entire thing by size of a string, because the name array is an array of strings. And so just the size of the array is going to tell me if I have 10 strings in there, and let's say that a string is 4 bytes long, it's going to tell me that it's 40. That would be the size of. So now I'm going to have to divide it by the size of a string because it is a string array, and then we'll run it again and see if this is another way that we can determine how many elements are in there. So we'll search for Pepsi, and it's telling me that Pepsi is $1.50. Let me scroll up there, and yeah, Pepsi is $1.50. All right, so we're going to run it another time, and this time I'm going to search for Cheetos. Let's see if we can find out how much Cheetos are. And I'm going to do a lowercase Cheetos. Notice that there is no item price, or there is no item name and item price, because Cheetos lowercase is not the same as Cheetos uppercase. So maybe what we should add to this now is we're going to change not only the item name, but also the name in the array. We're going to change it to either uppercase or lowercase before we compare them. So I'll come down inside of my for loop, and this time after I capture the name, let's see if we can transform. So we're going to use transform name into, I think we went to uppercase last time. How about if we force them both to lowercase? Remember, there are 4 parameters. And the 4 parameters are the beginning of the string that I want to transform and the end of the string that I want to transform, and then the name of the string that I wanted. I'm like a destination. It can be the same string that we're doing. So we're going to say that this would be name dot begin, and then name dot end, and then we will do name dot begin again because we'll just put it back in here. And then how about if we go to lower? Last time I believe that we went to upper. This time we'll go to lower. I'm also, and transform, it should not be happy with transform. Y does not happy with transform. It says it's unidentified. So we're going to come up here and do remember pound include. Do you remember what we have to pound include in order to be able to use transform? If you said algorithm, then you were correct. And if we spell it right and you say algorithm, that's where transform is. So then I'm going to copy this and I'm going to, oops, I stole it. We're going to copy it. And then we'll paste it because not only do I want to change name, I also want to change item. So I want to start with item, and in the second one, everywhere that I find item or name, I want to change it to item. And so now when I compare name and item together here on this line inside of my if statement, let me drag that down just a little bit. Now when I compare name and item, now we have forced them both to lowercase. So let's see if that works. Let's search for something like lowercase Pepsi and see if it will bring back a price. And there it is. So now it's comparing the two lowercase items together. So let's run it one more time. And how about if we search for something that is not in our list, like Coke? Let's see if we can find something that is not in our list. And if you'll notice, my print statement is blank. I can see that it's blank. So there is one last thing that we're going to add to this program. And that means that I don't want to just arbitrarily print everything. It would seem to me I only want to print when I've actually found something. So instead we are going to add an if statement. And the if statement, actually I don't need the opening and closing braces. The if statement is going to say that if position is if we found something, my initial value of my position, I set my initial value position to -1. If I found something, it set it to 1 through 4, right? Because there's 5 items in there. If I never found anything, it seems like position is still going to be a -1. So I'm going to say if my position is less than 0, then we didn't find anything, right? So I will see out item not found. And then we'll put a couple of new lines in there. Otherwise, so I'll just put the else here, and then I'll copy this.